Most people think downsizing is about giving something up. Less space, fewer rooms, letting go of things that have been part of your life for years. But in reality, the people who go through this transition well, they're not losing anything. They're gaining control, they're gaining simplicity, and in a lot of cases, they're gaining peace of mind. And I've seen this from a perspective that most realtors have not. Before I got into real estate, I worked as a paramedic, and some of the most overwhelming situations I have ever been in had nothing to do with a medical emergency. I was walking into a home where someone was struggling, not necessarily because of their health initially, but because their living situation had quietly become too much. Too many stairs, too much maintenance, too much space to keep up with. And years, sometimes decades of belongings that have never been sorted through. And what makes this even harder is not having a plan. Everything was reactive. Family members trying to step in quickly, decisions being made under pressure, and emotions running high because no one had time to process what was actually happening. That's the part of downsizing that nobody really talks about, because on the surface, it sounds simple. Just move into something smaller. But in reality, downsizing is one of the biggest life transitions you'll ever go through. You're not just changing homes, you're going through your entire life, your routines, your memories, and your identity in a lot of ways. And if you don't approach this with the right plan, it can feel overwhelming very quickly. Now, on the flip side of that, I've also worked with families who approached this completely differently. They started early, sometimes even years before they actually made a move. And instead of trying to do everything all at one time, they broke it down into stages. They started decluttering one space at a time. They had conversations about what their next home would look like before they needed it. They got comfortable with the idea of letting things go gradually instead of all in one weekend. And when it came time to actually move, it felt calm, intentional, and most importantly, it felt like it was their decision, not something they were forced to do. That's the difference between planning and just winging it when something happens. It doesn't have to feel like a loss. When downsizing is done right, it feels like you gain what is real. You gain back time in your day because you're not maintaining a large home. You can reduce your monthly expenses, which creates more flexibility. You simplify your environment, which reduces stress more than people expect. And you create space mentally and physically for the next stage of your life. Now, this is where I come into things. I do things a lot different than what people expect from a realtor because, yes, I can help you sell your home, and yes, I can help you find something that fits your next stage. But that's actually a small part of what I do for families in these situations. My role is to help you manage the entire transaction from start to finish, because to me, it's not just a transaction, it's a process, it's a life transition. There are a lot of moving pieces that people don't realize until they're in the middle of it. For example, one of the biggest sticking points for people is decluttering, not because they don't want to do it, but because they don't know where to start. So I help you break that down into something manageable. what rooms to start with, how to prioritize, what typically makes sense to keep, donate, pass on to family, or to sell. And when needed, I can connect you with professionals who can actually come in and help you go through that process. The same thing goes for packing and moving. A lot of people assume they're going to handle everything themselves, and then they realize very quickly how physically and emotionally draining that can be. So instead of that becoming overwhelming to you, I can connect you with trusted professionals like movers, organizers, and support services who do this every day. People who understand that this isn't just about boxes, but it's about a life transition. Another piece people don't always think about is timing. How do you sell your current home and buy the next one without feeling rushed? How do you avoid being in between homes? How do you structure everything so that it flows smoothly? That's where strategy comes in, and that's something I can guide you through step by step so you don't feel like you're making decisions under pressure. Because pressure is what leads to regret in these situations, and the goal is to avoid that entirely. I also spend a lot of time helping clients figure out what their next home should actually look like. Because downsizing doesn't just mean a smaller home, it means a smarter home. Do you need everything to be on one level? Do you want to be closer to certain amenities? Do you want less maintenance entirely, like a condo or something with exterior upkeep handled for you? These are the conversations that matter because they directly impact your quality of life moving forward. So, when you look at the full picture, downsizing done right is not about reacting to a problem. It's about proactively designing your next chapter. And if your home is starting to feel a little too much, that's usually the first sign. Not a crisis, just a signal that it might be time to start thinking about what comes next. And starting early gives you options, it gives you control, and it makes the entire experience significantly smoother. So, if this is something you've been thinking about, even if you're not ready to make the move yet, start the conversation. Whether that's with family, friends, or someone who can help guide you through the process. If you found this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I share a lot of content around real estate, lifestyle, and navigating these kind of transitions, especially here in the St. John's metro area. I do have a great downsizing guide that I can send along. You can comment downsize on this video or send me a message and I'll get that over to you. And if you want a free personalized consultation on how to make this transition as smooth as possible for you or for your family, reach out to me. We'll sit down, map out a plan, and take it one step at a time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.